It's Talk Back with Matthew Dunn and Jim Leggett, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Call 442-8255, 442-TALK. Whether it's the guests or the calls, Talk Back is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
Hour number 2 off and rolling here on Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. I am your host, Matthew Dunn, joined as always by our political analyst, Jim Leggett. Before we introduce Mayor Fields, this fall has been a little wetter than usual, if you haven't noticed, but sunny skies are in the forecast throughout the weekend. This may be your last window of opportunity before Thanksgiving to get your home ready for company. Get out to the Garden Path Stone Center, 57 Ross Lane, 2.25 miles past the Coliseum on your left. The Garden Path Stone Center, your path to a beautiful home and landscape. Without further ado, it's our thrill and honor, as always, to be joined once a month by the mayor of the city of Pineville, our good friend Clarence Fields. Good morning, Mayor. How are you?
I'm great, gentlemen. How are y'all?
Just fine.
We are doing fine, Mayor. We are doing fine. Let's start off, though, with something that wasn't so fine, and that was the tornadic activity that happened about a week and a half ago now. I don't really think, of course, the quick pictures of the commercial businesses affected in Alexandria, I guess, dominated the headlines. But you guys were hit hard, and we had the chance to talk to Councilman Martin. He filled us in on road closures, some flooding that happened, the fact that his church was completely surrounded. I guess let's go back to square one when you got the phone call and sort of take us from there.
Well, kind of interesting. I guess 11:45 that night, I get a call but most importantly, I got a couple messages, obviously emergency alert that I can say works. It's interesting because when I left my home, there was nothing in my yard, nothing in my driveway, no straws, nothing. I get 4 blocks up, and it looks like I can't. It was unimaginable. And so at midnight through the night, with the crews working to try to clear, streets and things of that nature, it was. It's something that I've been through a few things, both personally and in this business, but not to that extent. And then what's really interesting on Thursday morning at daylight, or on that morning at daylight, when you really take a look, you really realize just how bad it is. And of course, our concern was people. Our concern was because of all the trees and the streets that were blocked, and trying to get to people and things of that nature. I'm gonna tell you something. I tell people, after daylight, and you get to looking and all the above. And by the way, as far as we know, there were literally no injuries.
Amazing.
But the trees on homes and the power lines down and all the above. What was most interesting as you got around and moved around and was with the crews, you had to say to yourself, the Lord dropped those trees the way that they needed to be dropped under the circumstances. Many of them were not, you would think that they would have dropped on homes. So that tells you a lot about what was experienced. Obviously, a couple areas of concern that were really hit hard was a little area called on Rimber Street. As soon as you come across the bridge, and then it's kind of hopscotched across the expressway and went through Louisiana College Drive. That area was totally it was just trees and power lines and poles and things everywhere. And then you get into the Donahue area where it really was I had an opportunity on that Friday to give a couple gentlemen from Baton Rouge, from the governor's office, Homeland Security, a tour of the devastation, and all they can say to themselves, we've never seen trees this big, that are on the ground. And but a lot of thanks goes to and we have a ways to go, by the way, and we ask people to really be patient with us. I'm sure people have seen our crews up working from daylight to dark on weekends, and it's going to take a while. If I had my best estimate, is going to be the next 3 to 4 weeks. Hopefully we can get back to some sense of normality, but and our crews are they will try to get back on some of the regularly scheduled routes that they generally run, but it's going to take a while. So we just ask people to be patient.
Some of the streets, I remember, and you mentioned a couple of them just now, but some of the streets, of course, College Drive, which you talked about, O'Neill, Byron, Prairie, Arkansas, Holloway, and Donahue. In terms of street closures, is everything pretty much back up and movable?
All streets are and literally, to be very honest with you, all streets were passable the next day in that afternoon by virtue of our crews working along with crews from CLECO. Many thanks to the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Hilton provided us with some personnel that kind of helped us really get things going. You know, the interesting story about this, and we see it around the country, and when other communities go through these kinds of experiences, how people come together. I ran up on a gentleman. Matter of fact, he was working with my two pastors, Ed and Joanne Cooper, were out working in that Fairview area around the corner from them, helping a gentleman who just drove up with his truck and his trailer and a saw and a piece of machinery he had on the back of it and clear the road on his own. You know, with he wasn't hired to do that or anything. Yeah. So you saw a lot of that, but most importantly, you just saw so many people helping each other. Thanks also, you know, we had some we know the Baptist Association and also United Methodist came down, provided some teams to help with, you know, personally helping. And that's the other part about it. Sometimes this is where I guess sometimes I don't like government. There's so much government can do and there's so much government can't do, and you want to help people every way you can, and we try to do that. But that's the one thing that bothers me, when somebody is really in need of help, and you know, there's, according to the law, sometimes there's something you can't really do anything about it. But you know, hats off to a lot of people, a lot of crews, CLECO, you know, power. I guess you would expect to have been without power for days and days, but I think in 4 or 5 days they had all the power.
Everything's back up power-wise.
Everything's back up power-wise.
Regarding that situation, was there ever, and I'm sure you were given probably some, and I know it's impossible to know an exact number, but how many homes or domiciles were affected in terms of CLECO having to do some extra work, or with people without power? Yeah. Atmos customers, all of those things.
Yeah, and thanks to Atmos also, because they came out. But I don't have a real count of how many homes. But let me put it in perspective. I can tell you we have 10 water wells in Pineville, and you know, just to show you how the power grid works. At one point, we were down to 4 water wells, and then you begin to think, and you really begin to become concerned about whether or not you're going to have to call an emergency boil advisory. I think I went on early that morning in an interview asking people to conserve. So with the power grid and the way it's set up, you know, you may have an area that's impacted, but it impacts an entire city because of the power grid. So, but it was a lot of power that was out there. When you got 10 water wells and 6 of them are down because of a power outage, that kind of tell you that as far as the power is concerned, it was very widespread.
Debris. You said it's going to be a couple of weeks. How have you? I'm sure you've done your usual drive-throughs and to see how everything's moving along. How would you say that that's coming along at this point?
I think, you know, with the folks that of course they do this all the time. Our crews, and I think people give them rightfully so, and we thank people for that, a lot of accolades. But you know, they've done a fantastic job in getting debris up. Sometimes what's disappointing, you can clear a street of debris and come back the next day and there's debris there again because people are still putting out, trees and limbs from the damage that they've had in their yard and their backyard or something of that nature. But I tell you, they have picked up a lot of debris. That's interesting. Well, people will understand. Under these circumstances, it's not that you just go pick up the debris and go take it to your regular station and all the above. We actually are stockpiling this debris because we have to do that because when the time comes where we look for hopefully reimbursement, whether it's through FEMA or whoever, we have to be accountable, believe it or not, for that debris. So you can't.
How does that work? By tonnage, or?
Yeah, it works by tonnage, and actually, there's so many variables there, even to the point where, to some extent or whatever, all of that debris has to be run through a grinder, and it has to be grinded up. You know, normally we don't do that. Normally we take the debris to our Greenfield waste compound, and that's where it's deposited. But in this case, it has to be totally separated to some extent or whatever from the rest of the regular route debris or whatever. So that makes it real interesting from accountability standpoint. Then you talk about what's really interesting is these guys, you see them working, from daylight to dark. You see them working 6-7 days a week. Because of the storm does not mean that you might get reimbursed for the hours that they work. You only get reimbursed for, if it's storm related, anything over 40 hours overtime wise.
Right.
So you're going to be in the hole one way or the other.
Were any businesses knocked out permanently or even long range?
No businesses. That's really interesting. No businesses were really impacted as far as I know. Absolutely almost none.
Right.
So it's quite interesting.
And thank God, too, you were talking about thanking the good Lord about where placement was and things like that, or where a tree fell. Thank goodness this was that night when LC students were mostly indoors or sleeping or in their dorms or whatever the case is, or at their apartment, rather than this happening during the middle of a day when people are trying to walk to class and so forth.
Yeah, well, you know what really gets to you and what really, makes you put things in perspective. I was talking to a lady who actually, her windows blew into her home, and then she was literally sucked halfway out of a window, and her son grabbed her, and then they went in the closet and took both of them to hold the closet door closed to keep from being sucked out. So there's some stories out there. But the most amazing story, I'm telling you, I'm going back to the Lord, because there was a couple and their 2 young kids. The mom and the 2 kids, I think it was 2 kids, they were actually visiting in Mandeville, and the dad was still at home. The tree fell in the kid's bedroom, and thank God they were not there. So those kinds of stories.
Well, we're going to continue with Mayor Fields in just a moment, as we're going to ask him. We're going to move on from the storms and ask him a few political questions. Obviously, he'll be working with a new mayor immediately to the south, and an unexpected election on the way that directly affects the city of Pineville. Parents, fall athletics are wrapping up. That means your kids are going to need new activities to do after school. Make it an educational one with the Rapides Parish Library. We have Homework Louisiana, which is a free program offering free tutoring, study prep, and even helping students find jobs if they're in high school or college. Visit rpl.org for more info. rpl.org. That's the Rapides Parish Library. Time for you to rediscover your library. We'll continue with Mayor Fields right after this.
You're listening to Talkback 970 with Matthew Dunn and Jim Leggett, broadcasting live from the Kinetics Technologies studio. You're listening to Talkback on KSYL 970 AM and 104.9 FM. You can join the conversation by calling 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
Back here on a Tuesday edition of Talkback. We hope everyone's having a nice start to their morning. I'll get right back to the phone calls for Mayor Fields in just a moment. I want to remind you about Prime Guard self-storage. Remember, we got the holidays right around the corner. If you need to clear out some space in your home because you got company coming in for the holiday season, perfect time to rent a small unit from Prime Guard Self-Storage. Remember, you don't have to rent it for 6 months or a year. They do month-to-month agreements. Just give them a call, 442-9991, or visit primeguard.net. We'll go to the phone calls. Good morning. You're on with Pineville Mayor Clarence Fields.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Mayor Fields, despite all those ups and downs, I hope you still had a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
God bless you.
I really did. Thank you so much, Miss B. That's very kind.
Happy belated birthday.
Myself and my twin sister.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. You're turning 38. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks.
Mayor, let's talk a little bit about, obviously you weren't oblivious to what took place on November 6th.
Yeah.
It looks like your old buddy, Roy Hebron, will be back in action north of you in Ball, right next door. And you kind of got a little smile on your face there. We'll see what happens with that situation, which, of course, you have nothing to do with.
Exactly.
So you are like us in watching, interested to see what happens in the town of Ball. South of the river, Mayor-elect Hall, Jeff Hall, will be the new mayor in cahoots with you. And obviously, I don't have to tell you how important it's been whether it was my stepfather, Ned Randolph, or of course currently with Mayor Roy over the past 12 years. And now you'll be with your third Alexandria mayor, which
Correct,
will be
yeah.
Jeff Hall. Talk about that working relationship, that time-honored tradition of working well between Alexandria and Pineville.
I'm looking and feeling my gray hair when you say my third. I'm looking forward to it. Congratulations to all of those, who won recent elections, and congratulations to Mr. Hall. It's hard for me to call him Mr. Hall because I'm used to calling him Jeff. We have a history
his
together.
district, part of his legislative district now comes into Pineville.
That's correct. But Jeff and I, we actually worked, believe it or not, back in the mid '90s and the late '80s. We worked 2 campaigns together. We both came from Clico, VI Clico, and we worked for a campaign in Opelousas. And also work one in New Iberia area, and those were door to door. So, we had that experience, and then, obviously working for Clico, we had that relationship, and then he became state representative also. And, we had a relationship there. So I'm looking forward to it. We kind of, let me say congratulations to him. And, by the way, if somebody get this message to him, let him know. Yeah, and we've had some conversation, via social media since his election and everything. Tell him I'm waiting on an answer on an opportunity I've already offered him or whatever. But I'm looking forward to it. It's.
Wait a second. What have you offered him? Come on now. You got to spill the beans. You can't tease that much.
I can't say that yet. Unless he accepts it, then I can say it. But I can't say that yet.
Are we adjoining the 2 municipalities? We're going to be called Alpine, and you're going to be the mayor, and he's going to be the deputy mayor.
No, it's a joint adventure.
Okay.
It's something we're used to doing, and but I look forward to it. I hope he accepts that, and I know he's going to be a busy person, but I hope he accepts that, and that'll be a great start for the both of us. But I'm looking forward to it. Obviously go back to that regional concept in all of communities, in the area, and I think there's. And by the way, let me say this. Mayor Roy and myself had a great relationship, and there's so much that we were able to do together, talk about together, and all the above. I'm looking forward to the same relationship with other mayors, particularly in Alexandria in this particular area.
Yeah, I've always said this on the air, and of course, if you look at whether it's the economic development organizations, the sheriff's department, we are better when we're working together.
Oh, absolutely.
When Alexandria and Pineville are on the same page, Central Louisiana is on the same page, and that extends well beyond Rapides Parish. That extends into our friends at Avoyelles, Grant, Vernon, and so forth. And so I do wish you guys the best of luck in working together to help continue to improve our community. Let's talk about an election that also took place with the fact that a gentleman you know very well, Representative Chris Hazel. Correct.
Congratulations to him. Yeah.
Absolutely. He's going to become a judge now, and that will vacate the state representative seat that pretty much dominates Pineville. And that, of course, we do have a candidate there. It's a very popular attorney and business person who runs the North Rapides Business and Industry Alliance, Mike Johnson, who I know that you know very well. He has announced his candidacy already for that seat. Obviously, whoever wins that seat, you'll be working hand in hand with them.
Hey, I'm looking forward to that. Also, obviously, Mike, what he's accomplished. He's a figure in our community. He's involved in many different things. The NRBIA has become a huge success, relative to its monthly activities, and then also what it brings to the table in putting Central Louisiana as well as the north side of the river out there. And so he's done a tremendous job in that. I had the opportunity, to be very honest with you, Mike had a fundraiser a few weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to introduce him at that fundraiser, and that's something I'm very proud of. But I look forward to working with a new state representative.
Is it challenging sometimes? And I don't want to say this as it's hard, but is it challenging when you get used to, for instance, let's go back to the Alexandria mayor's race. You get used to Mayor Roy and kind of how he how he governs and how his style is and things like that. And then you have to kind of learn a whole new system with a new mayor. Does that get challenging over the years, or it just sort of an adjustment that comes with the job?
It can be challenging, for myself and the people that I work with in Pineville. I'm not going to say it's challenging. We're hopefully the business and the way we've tried to carry on business has been consistent. So that makes a big difference for us. And, we're not going to change, that because seemingly, particularly in the best interest of the people that we represent, we're not going to change that. So hopefully when you have new individuals, new administrations in the surrounding areas, they understand that's already in place. But what we do, we want to continue to be, and our people expect us to be and themselves to be part of this regional concept. And we'll do whatever it takes to make sure people clearly understands that.
Listen, we'll take a break real quick. We'll take a break and come back and get into the agenda. Lots to get to as we'll talk about the propositions, including beer and wine in Pineville, as that has been a very hot topic over the last 3 to 4 months. We'll get into that as that is about to come to a head in the city of Pineville. We want to remind you about a great north of the river business, and that's Extreme Tree Service with Alderman Mark Mercer, Alderman-elect Mark Mercer in the town of Ball. Mark's still trying to catch up from the storms, but if you give him a call, they'll try to squeeze you in. All estimates are free. Just give Mark a call, 715-0132. Extreme, no E on Extreme Tree Service. Right back with Mayor Fields.
You're listening to Talk Back on KSYL 970 AM and 104.9 FM. You can join the conversation by calling 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
Just because you're from Pineville doesn't mean you can't use Alexandria Glass, which is Sinlaw's choice for anything you need done with your glass for your home or car. Remember, we can work with your insurance company to get you a new windshield for your car at little or no cost to you. Give them a call. 443-8414. That's Alexandria Glass. Back here with Pineville Mayor Clarence Fields. And Mayor, you gave Jim and I this pamphlet with all of these propositions. It's going to be a busy, busy time in the city of Pineville, and I'll kind of turn the floor over to you.
Yeah, let me mention also very quickly, I don't want to lose track of this, the obviously city council meeting on this evening, legal committee meeting at 5 p.m. There's a couple zoning issues relative to rezoning of lots. It's also on the agenda. The zoning commission meeting is at 5:30. By the way, if you're from whether you're from Alexandria, the surrounding area, feel free to come to Pineville City Council meetings. I had to get back on that. But not really a whole lot on the agenda when it comes to that. There was a lot of work that was going on downtown relative to Raleigh construction, doing some sewer system improvements in the downtown area. That's pretty much substantially complete, and we'll hopefully do a resolution to accept that work. And by the way, what may seem a small thing but becomes sometimes big at Christmas, the Pineville Police Department over a year's time, or sometimes that unfortunately they have bicycles that were lost, confiscated, and things of that nature. Some of our people get together and put those bicycles together, and we do a program during the Christmas holidays to give those bicycles to needy kids. So the council will do a resolution authorizing that on this evening also. Other than that, a couple zoning issues that are on the agenda. I have to mention this because my wife has been saying this for the past 2 or 3 weeks, and she says, you realize how many businesses on Main Street and Military Highway are women-owned or women-run? So I took a ride down Main Street early this morning just to make sure I got it right. And she's right. And the reason she said that, our daughter just moved her business from Highway 28 East to now downtown Pineville, along with many others. Pineville Beauty School, Fran McPherson has a place down there, Transformation Salon, Sandra McCoy, Mary Smith, Harlow's Donuts. So she's right. There are a lot of women-owned and women-run businesses on Main Street and Military Highway.
Everything okay with Harlow's, right? The little fire the other day?
Yeah.
Okay,
they were up and running early this morning, I can tell you that. But it's a little mishap.
I think they were up and running
the same day.
Same day.
Right. Yeah. So thanks our guys, getting there in a timely manner to take care of that business and everything. So I needed to mention that. That way, Rosa, if you out there, I did it. So
well, no,
we'll vouch for him.
It is the year of the woman, and
there's no doubt.
And you can see that whether it's national or even a lot of elections throughout the state of Louisiana. And so many women are great business owners, and I tell you, the numbers are closer than you think. So, did she text you?
She did.
Nice.
She said, "Thank you."
Hey, Miss Rosa, we hope you're doing well this morning.
Keeping tabs on him, are you?
Great lady, yeah. So, but let's get back. By the way, so city council meeting at 6 p.m. So, please feel free to come by city council meeting. Obviously, we've just passed through the Tuesday national election and went through that. One thing that we decided to do, and I say we, and I want people to understand when we start talking about this particular issue, obviously there's 5 propositions on the ballot coming up on December the 8th election. One of them specifically in Pineville, also remind people because of the the turnout issue could be an issue because there's literally only one other thing for the most part that's going to be on the ballot, and that's the Secretary of State's race. But I think the turnout for this one will be quite interesting. And this is the issue of alcohol sales in Pineville relative to alcohol sales in packaged liquor in convenience stores. And let me remind people how this all came about. Several months back, a company called Texas Petition Strategies out of Texas, and this is their business. They were hired by Walmart and Brookshires, or better known here as Super One, to initiate an effort to get 25% of the people to sign a petition to get it on the ballot for people to be able to vote on packaged liquor. One thing that happened during that also is that probably a lot of people thought that's what they were signing the petition. What they did not realize in signing that petition, now that it's going to be on the ballot, there are actually 5 propositions on that ballot. And depending in our responsibilities as elected officials in Pineville is to educate, not tell people how to vote. I have my opinion, and I will express my opinion when I go, and vote on that particular day. But it's to educate people on what those 5 propositions are. And we chose to take this approach because we did not want to do it earlier because of the constitutional amendments that were already on the last ballot, which was already confusing, and this would obviously further confuse it and everything. So we will be going around speaking to civic organizations or whoever will hear us specifically, or whoever stops me on the street or stops someone, to specifically educate people on what these 5 measures really mean. Now, let me be up front. One of them, proposition number 5, speaks literally to what Pineville currently has, and that is the sale of restaurant-only alcohol beverages. It's on the ballot again. By law, it has to be on the ballot again, and depending on people's feelings. And remember, back in October 2013. That passed with 78% of the people voting in favor of the restaurant-only initiative. And people remember, the city council petitioned the state legislature to allow it to be on the ballot to give people the opportunity to make a decision for themselves. So, but that's back on the ballot again. That's part of the law. It has to be on the ballot again. And depending on how people vote, that can pass, or if it fails, then the restaurant-only initiative will literally go away. And I can be very upfront with you. There are 12 to 13 of our restaurants that are currently, have that the ability to be able to do that. A couple of those restaurants literally built on the premises that they would be able to do that. One of them being buckets. So that's important to them. So because people pass it, I'm in favor of that. Okay. But I'm not going to give my opinion on the rest of them. But what we need to do is educate people. Proposition number 1. Okay.
Right. I want to ask you about this real quick here. Proposition number 1. I'll read it real quick.
Go right ahead.
Shall the sale of beverages of alcoholic content containing not more than 6% alcohol by volume be permitted by package only and not for the consumption on the premises in the city of Pineville, state of Louisiana.
Right.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If that passes, but Proposition 5 passes, what in the world would be the situation there?
If that passes, and Proposition, if 1 and 5, the way you are stating it now, that passes, that means that you can have beer and wine, okay, in Super One, Walmart, and convenience stores.
But it wouldn't be in a restaurant if it passed on 5.
As long as 5 passes, same thing. And if 1 and 5 passes, then you still have your restaurant initiative.
What if
place.
5 fails? If everything else is kicked out?
Everything else can particularly be kicked out if 5 fails, okay?
So if 1 passes and 5 fails, then Pineville basically is like any other municipality that fully sells alcohol. Is that correct?
Nope, not quite.
No,
okay.
You can't sell it.
That's why I want to go through them one at a time.
See,
because
now
that's
I'm
how confusing they are.
Okay, we're due for a break. We're going to come back and let you make that very point. Okay, we'll be right back to clear that up right after this. More with Mayor Fields.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. Back to the conversation of Talkback. You're welcome to join in by calling 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
Welcome back into Talkback as we just got video in from Shreveport as it is snowing up in Shreveport right now. Amazing this early in the year. Can't remember a November snow in Louisiana. Pretty rare. But we've got a bigger issue at hand here. We're talking about beer and wine and liquor sales and all those good things with the various 5 propositions, and the mayor is going to clear them up for us so that you understand if you are voting in that very election. Mayor?
Yeah, I hope I can clear some of this up. I know one thing I can tell you right now. I look forward to another segment, hopefully, before the election to come back on and just talk about it specifically.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
We'll make that work.
I appreciate it very much. Because by the way, for those in the listening audience, we're going to be going around to civic clubs and different people who want to hear, because we want to educate people on what they're voting on. Not tell them how to vote, but to educate them on what they're voting on. Because, here's an issue from our perspective. And unfortunately, this happens sometimes because people on constitutional amendments and proposition, they go out and they pull the lever one way or the other, yes or no, because they don't understand. Yes and no that sometimes from my perspective does not work in this one, particularly if you pull a lever no on everything, and then our restaurants that are currently and have been encouraged, and those hopefully to locate because of that issue, then you kill that initiative for them that currently are in that business or whatever. So, but anyway, Proposition 1, I'll go back to Proposition 1. That's the sale of alcoholic beverages. Literally, Proposition 1 deals with on-premise sales in the city of Pineville. That's packaged liquor below 6%. That's beer and wine. So that would be beer and wine in the Walmarts and the Super Ones and the convenience stores and things of that nature. Proposition number 2 shall the sale of alcohol content containing not more than 6% alcohol by volume for consumption on premises. That is the bar concept, and that is beer and wine only in bars. So Proposition number 2 deals with literally the bar concept, consumption on premises. When you see or hear consumption on premises, that means you can consume, in this particular case, Proposition number 2, beer and wine in a facility.
Okay, so to put it in a nutshell for 1 and 2, just to get that off, 1 and 2 is beer and wine package sale from grocery stores, essentially.
That's
and
one,
convenience stores.
Number 1. Yes.
That's number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 would be to consume beer and wine at a bar-like setting.
That's correct.
Okay, got it.
That's
just making
correct.
sure.
Okay. Proposition number 3 shows the sale of alcohol containing 0.5% alcohol by volume and above for consumption. Okay. Again, there goes that word consumption on premises. That again is the bar concept, and that means any and everything can be consumed in a bar setting if Proposition number 3 passes. So just to go back very quickly, Proposition 2 and 3 literally deals with the bar concept itself. Okay, so 2 and 3 deals with bars. Now, Proposition number 4 shall the sale of beverages of alcohol content containing 0.5% alcohol by volume be permitted by package only and not for consumption on premises. This deals totally with the Walmarts and the Super Ones and convenience stores where everything, beer, wine, hard liquor, all that can be sold from a package perspective, but not for consumption. Okay. So as you can see, Proposition 1 and Proposition 4 deal strictly with the packaged liquor sales that Texas retail strategists came to town for when they put together that petition on behalf of Walmart and Brookshire's or Super One grocery stores. Proposition number 5. So the sale of alcohol beverages of high and low alcohol content, that means beer, wine, and alcohol and hard liquor, be permitted only on the premises of restaurant establishments which have been issued an R permit. That is currently what the city of Pineville possesses. Our restaurants currently, and there are about 12 or 13 of them, currently offer beer, wine, and alcohol at their establishment. It's on the ballot again. Okay. And I encourage people to be very careful with this one, because if this fails, that concept goes away. Okay. And it impacts our restaurants. And one of the reasons on the restaurant initiative was to give people an opportunity to hopefully just stay here. And I'll go back to that again and some, of something that they wanted to do because they were going elsewhere, whether it was Bossier City, Natchitoches, Louisiana, even Alexandria, surrounding communities in restaurants that now, by the way, at the same time, it gives Pineville no chance if this fails to even have the opportunity to attract other restaurants or national chain restaurants here in Pineville, Louisiana.
Well, I can tell you, since I'm not voting in this, I'll tell you how I would vote for this. I'd be check marks down the board. I'd go yes, 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 all the way down the board. And the reason being is I personally feel, unless you're 21, unless you're younger than 21, I personally feel that everyone should have the right to decide for themselves whether or not they can purchase alcohol in the city of Pineville.
It is not for me as mayor to make decisions for people that people have been given the opportunity, according to the law, to vote to make decisions for themselves, up or down, one way or the other. We have to honor that, and they need that opportunity. So, we adjust accordingly.
Besides, in addition to that, the economic impact on Pineville, which I'm sure you can talk a lot more about than I can, but if a person who lives in the city of Pineville wants to have a drink in the city of Pineville, why should we force them to go across the river to do it in Alexandria, where they have to double back and come all the way home? Let people do what they want to do. That's just my opinion. We'll talk more about it. We'll close out with Mayor Fields right after this.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. If you'd like to talk to Matt and Jim, call now, 442-8255, 442-TALK.
People are now blasting me that I'm getting too involved in Pineville decision-making here, that I should leave it up to the citizens of Pineville. All I said was, if I'm in Pineville, this is how I would vote.
Well, and that's why we're trying to educate people on what they're voting on, because it is left up to the citizens of Pineville. It is their right and their responsibility to vote however they please to vote or whatever. And we as an administration or whatever, we live by that. Okay. And, we have no problem doing that. So,
right.
But that, there's other things that we have to look at and all the above. I've not said to anybody yet about, what it means to Pineville as far as revenue is concerned and all the above. Well, yeah, it will have some impact on revenue.
About that.
Yeah.
I would like to know.
Our sales tax the last, the first 4 months of this fiscal year have been down by on an average of about 3 to 4%. That's market driven, and over the past few years that has not gotten better. But every little bit's going to help. But there's other things that we have to do regardless of this vote. When it comes to revenue in the city of Pineville, and we have to be very clear on that and why we do that. But if the expectations are to maintain currently, what we do and how we do it as far as the service that we deliver, people will have to play a part in that, and people will be playing a part in that via this particular election and this vote also. To be very honest with you.
What did you want to promote before we get out of here? Because we got about a minute and a half left, so I just want to give you your time.
I don't remember what I want to promote more. But again, city council meeting tonight. I'll probably be back, but Christmas parade December 7th. Okay, Friday night, December 7th. So that's coming up very quickly. We don't have a grand marshal yet. Somebody will ask me that. We're waiting on some confirmation when it comes to the grand marshal. So hopefully that will be coming soon. But
Leggett's available.
Yeah, that ought to draw them in.
Again, thanks to everyone, that helped in that storm. It took effort by everyone, and we've come a long way. We have a ways to go. Be patient with our workers. Believe me, they are, they're working their butts off. It's going to take that to get us back to where we should be.
Well, listen, continued prayers. We're happy no one got hurt, but we understand that this is not only expensive, but it inconveniences people when you've got limbs blocking roads. We know that all of that has gotten taken care of now, but I know the cleanup effort continues. So you and I talked before we came on the air. You basically went about 2 days without sleep after that happened. Yeah. So that's the job.
And I just ask people, be patient, be mindful, because, my sister defended me on, I think a lady kind of got on her pretty bad because the lady didn't have internet service. Well, to be very honest with you, my concerns during those times are, one, people and the safety of people. Two, getting people the needs and the necessities when it comes to water, electricity, things of that nature, and all the other stuff will come along with that.
Mayor, thanks so much. We are going to probably have you on a week earlier next month to talk more about these propositions. God bless and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. For Pineville Mayor Clarence Fields and Jim Leggett, I'm Matthew Dunn. This has been Talkback on KSYL 970 AM, 104.9 FM, and KSYL.com. God bless, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.
You've been listening to Talkback 970. The views expressed were those of the host and callers, and not necessarily those of Sinlaw Broadcasting.